Hi, and welcome to Communities Connected, a land and lifestyle podcast brought to you by Alisant. I am one of your co hosts, Danette Beal. I'm Vice President of Marketing at Alisant. I'm joined today by our CEO and co founder of Alisant, April Lamont, and our special guest, Haley Peck. Haley is Vice President of Marketing at Johnson Development, an award winning master plan community developer based out of Houston, Texas. Haley, how are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for joining the podcast. So, you have been with Johnson Development now for over a decade. Can you tell us a little bit about your role and what you do at Johnson Development?
Absolutely. I've been here for 12 years this year. I started back in 2014 as a marketing coordinator and kind of grew the ranks marketing manager, marketing director, and then most recently have been promoted to vice president of marketing for JDC now over all Johnson Development communities. We have 14 in the Houston area, five or six kind of outside of Houston and in the Dallas, San Antonio, Austin market. We also have one in Atlanta. So I've spent my career here branding communities, creating lifestyles and places where people want to live. And it's been really amazing.
And you've touched a number of different projects along that road, haven't you?
I did. Yeah, I started in Siena, which is one of our probably our biggest project by acreage. It's been in active development since the 90s, which is pretty wild. So I started there and I've worked on Riverstone, Imperial, Cross Creek Ranch. I started from the beginning a community called Harvest Green, which was Houston's first agriculture centered master plan community, which was a really awesome project to work on. So the last 5 years, I've been concentrating on a project called Jubilee, which is Texas's first wellness master plan community. I've been a lot of time and love and dedication into that project because it's very personally connected to me and my own story. So that's been really amazing to work on. And then now I oversee all projects for our entire Johnson portfolio. So it's been an exciting kind of growth over the past 12 years here.
So let's dive into Jubilee a little bit. That one's one that's near and dear to our hearts. We love talking about it here at Alisant. How did you originally, I know that you were with the project very early in development. How did the vision of wellness come about? How did you kind of come up with wellness as the concept and then build that out?
Jubilee really started with a bigger question of what do people actually want from the places where they live. Houston is very competitive, very saturated in the master plan community market, and we were wanting to do something that completely set us apart. We saw that wellness was becoming a much larger part of how people made decisions, not just in terms of fitness, but in just how they want to feel day to day, less stressed, more connected, more time outdoors, more balanced. So instead of treating wellness as just a trend, we decided to build an entire community around it. And it was a personal project for me because about 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. There is no cure and no medication for it, but what helped tremendously for people with this particular disorder, and as I've come to learn, all people in general, is cutting out kind of as many toxins in life as you can. So, not only the food you're eating, making sure they're cleaner and less processed, and the products you're putting on your body, but also the contaminants in the water you're drinking and in the air you're breathing, the lighting that you are exposing yourself to on a day to day basis, as well as obviously physical activity, keeping your body active, but also creating times and spaces in your day where you can slow down, help your nervous system kind of reset, help just in meditative and mindfulness and all of these things that can really contribute to your overall health. I kind of had to uproot my entire life and figure out how to incorporate all of these different things in my day to day. And also, I had to buy air purifiers for my home and a water purification system. I had to change the lighting, all of these things that would just make incremental changes into my day to day health. And that in itself was stressful and a task just to change everything about my life. And at that point, I thought, man, it would just be really great if there was already a community that existed like this, that had healthier homes that you could just move into and didn't have to do all of this stuff retroactively, and had a lifestyle that encouraged more balance and getting outside more and being more physically active, but also slowing down and meditating or connecting with other people. And so, thus, kind of the idea of Jubilee was born, and we have not looked back since.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the wellness zones? That's one piece that I think is really interesting about Jubilee is you've got different wellness zones kind of set up around the community.
That's a great question. The wellness zones are the amenities within Jubilee. Every amenity fits into a specific wellness zone. So the concept of our wellness zones really came from us taking a more holistic approach to amenities that's typically done in master planned communities. Physical wellness is almost always addressed at this master plan community level. You have your walking trails, you have your fitness centers or fitness parks. So that's covered. We're going to include that as well. So social wellness is also something that's really important when you look at the research and connectedness to others, and creating opportunities and lifestyle programming for social wellness was extremely important. Not completely new, it's done in other communities. We do have lifestyle directors in almost all Johnson communities whose job is just to have events all year long to bring the residents together. So that we have our physical wellness and our social wellness. We decided to enter in this third prong of wellness into this overall amenity package for Jubilee, and that was mental wellness. It was addressing that mental wellness is a thing, and it's something that we all experience on a day-to-day basis, and we need to create spaces that help nurture people's mental health, whether that's meditative areas encouraging them to slow down, or that's barefoot walking zones where they can take their shoes off and touch the earth and get involved in nature. So we to address all three of those created wellness zones in the community. And these are four very distinct, intentionally designed zones. There's 30 plus zones all throughout the community, but they all fit into one of four categories. So the first one is inspiration. These are areas that are inspiring, invigorating for people. There are really bold and imaginative playscapes for kids. Also, art throughout the community, whether it's done via landscaping or actual art structures or paintings on the side of walls. We have a lot of area where we've incorporated really bright colors and positive sayings into the community in these areas. Our second type of wellness zone is our exploration zones. So these are areas where our residents can get out in nature. They can take their shoes off and do some grounding. They can fish the little tadpoles in our low water crossing. They can visit the butterfly garden and see nature at its finest and really get to just benefit from being outside and ecotherapy. Our third type of zone are connection zones. These are very intentional gathering spaces throughout the community. They are pavilions that have grills and picnic tables and permanent cornhole and permanent ping pong and fire pits and just places that encourage people to form relationships with one another. Um, and then the last type of zone, which is probably the most unique, are reflection zones. And these are our meditative spaces throughout the community. So some are just kind of like hammocks that are isolated off into an area by a pond where they can really get some alone time, some quiet time. Other areas are we have a land bridge that connects two sections with meditative rocks in there. There's messaging of breathe in, breathe out. Both views overlook either a fountain or a long waterway. And they're visible from the main road coming through the community. So getting to see those as residents drive in and come home, it's just a gentle reminder of, hey, take a few seconds to slow down, take a few seconds to release all the stress that you're carrying from the day to day that you're about to bring into your home. it's just a nice reminder that we need to kind of unplug from all of that sometimes.
There's so many subtle messages through the community, whether it's these moments through these zones, even down to the names of the streets. Um, talk to us a little bit about how you really took this as an identity, not just a brand, but an identity for the community, and really infuse this into some places that others might take for granted.
Yeah. So when we were coming up with not just the concept of the community being wellness, but how do we brand it? What are things going to look like? We just kept coming back to we want to surround people with positivity. We feel like everyone, no matter who you are combating negativity all day long, whether it's at work or dealing with people or the news, just things that are going on. It's just we're all bombarded with it all day long. And how do we create a place that just kind of engulfs people in positivity just to help balance out kind of what they're having to experience on a day to day. And I did a lot of research into psychology and just the way that colors and lines and architecture and messaging and patterns can subliminally impact people as they're driving through, as they're experiencing their evenings and their mornings there and raising their children there. It's one of those things that you might not necessarily notice that your subconscious is picking up on, but it is. And so let's just make everything their subconscious picks up on positive. So you'll notice in Jubilee that all of the street names are positive, like April mentioned. Our model homes are on Happy Home Street. Cheerful Trail leads into that. Joyful Life Drive cross-sects with that. So all of the sections, so all of the neighborhoods in the community all have positive connotations to them. All of the road names are bright and cheery. We have colorful, fun sidewalks, and crosswalks that go from our amenities to our future schools. A lot of our signage on the front of it, it's maybe directional to the models, but on the back of it, it's positive messaging, like you're in the right place. Really just trying to create as much positivity in the atmosphere as we can for the people who are growing up there, and in particular for the children who are going to have their entire childhoods in this community. What better way to grow up than with just bright colors and fun, positive energy around you all the time?
Yeah, I love that. It actually reminds me, we had a guest on not too long ago, Kevin Kelly. He's a placemaking expert, and he talks a lot about emotional baggage and how your surroundings really dictate your feelings. And, a lot of it, you can either have positive connotations or negative connotations. And I think even in that podcast, April, we talked about Jubilee as being one of those. Examples of one of the communities that really does that very well. As soon as you walk into the community, you feel it and you feel the positivity, and, and it's your um really inspiring all the senses down to touch and feel and sight. And I think you all have done just an excellent job at that within Jubilee.
Thank you. We're so Jubilee, when we first announced the name, everyone was like, "That's really weird. Shouldn't it be something ranch or Grove Meadows or whatever?" And the whole concept with the name was so interesting because, words are used in so many different ways, and there's so many communities named all of these different things, and they're all pretty similar. And Jubilee, when you look up the meaning, the definition of the word, there's probably 100 different definitions, but every single one of them is positive. It's either a celebration, or something to do with happiness or like spiritually uplifting. And the best part about it is because it ends with two E's. When you say Jubilee, you have to smile at the end, just the way your mouth moves with the word. And so, what better name for our community than something that makes you smile when you say it?
That's awesome. I'm just sort of curious. We know it takes a village to bring any master plan to life, right? And throughout the journey of the development cycle, and as you start bringing in marketing and ultimately start trying to attract buyers, did you feel it was different? Did this energy sort of permeate the team working on the project as well?
Yes, that's a great question. Yes, it did. Every meeting we went into, every design decision, I mean, we had to come to it with this mindset of creating a positive place and creating a healthier space. As we did that, we started to create our own health and wellness, within our office. So, like, our office now has better lighting, has reverse osmosis water for everyone here. Things that we've learned about wellness as we've been researching for the community, we've started implementing, just for our colleagues here. So that's been a huge impact, but also the marketing has been fun. It's fun. I mean, you can see the colors of my office right now. It's very Jubilee inspired in here, but when you're doing things that are bright and they're meant to make people happy, the marketing is fun. The work becomes more fun. The events that you're putting on become more fun. So I think it's also had a positive impact on our team here.
So Haley, you've obviously we've talked about the community and what you all are doing inside the community itself, but a big part of this I can imagine is the actual home. So you need to kind of bring that wellness and that energy all the way into their individual homes. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you were able to bring home builders into the mix and get them to really be a part of this whole wellness initiative?
So anyone who's watching, as a real estate developer, we don't build the homes. We design the communities, we build the amenities, the streets, the utilities, and all that, but we don't actually build the homes ourselves, which means that we have less control. Which is when you're trying to fine tune and plan a community as intentionally as we are with Jubilee. It's a little scary to not have control of the homes. So we started meeting with builders and presenting this concept to them in 2019, and we grand opened the community in 2024. So there were 5 years of doing research, meeting with people, getting them on board, figuring out how we could bring this concept to life that was feasible for everyone. With the builders, it was a lot of here's what's happening in real estate in general. Here's what's happening in wellness real estate locally, internationally. Here's what buyers are starting to demand in other areas. This is what the future of real estate is. Either jump on with us and be a pioneer, and we'll work through the issues together and we'll figure it out, or do it in 10 years when the government's requiring all of the home builders to have cleaner water and cleaner air in the houses. So you can be a part of it now or you can do it later. And so a lot of them are really excited to jump on board. If you're familiar with home building, their number one priority is typically the bottom line. And so we had to do a lot of um, negotiating to be able to get the healthier home features down to a price point that would be feasible for all of the builders to include it in their homes and it not make the home prices skyrocket and not make their internal costs skyrocket. So part of that 5 years before grand opening the community was us researching, meeting with, and then partnering with vendors who could help provide these features. So one example is a company called Infinity Water Solutions. They're Houston based. They provide the reverse osmosis water filter that goes in every single home in the community. They provide it completely free of charge to the builders and to the homeowner. At closing, they go in and they install it. At that point, they are able to meet with the home buyer and potentially upsell them. So they could say, the buyer could say, "Hey, I want an RO filter for my entire house, not just my kitchen sink and ice maker and water and everything. I want it for all my showers." Or, "I want a water softener," which a lot of people do because of where we are in Texas. The water is pretty hard out there. So this vendor has agreed 4,000 plus homes in Jubilee providing this water filter for free, but then they get the potential business of all of these homeowners for things like the water softeners or upselling different RO filters. And so that's been completely free to the builders. It's benefited the company, and it was a way that we could not have to charge our buyers anything for them to have cleaner water. They do have to once a year or once every 2 years, depending on how often they're doing it, change out the filters in those RO, waters machines, which are usually about $150. but still next to nothing cost for such a huge benefit. And same thing with lighting. So we have circadian rhythm lighting in all of the homes in Jubilee. This was one of our most challenging finds because at the time, whenever we started researching the providers of circadian rhythm lighting, it was only being done in $1 million plus homes. It was not at a production level home. And so we have homes starting in the 290s in Jubilee. So that those systems weren't an option. We partnered with a company called Jasco, and they were able to create a Wi-Fi bulb lighting product that could it has SunSmart technology, so it mirrors the color, temperature, and intensity of the sun throughout the day. And they were able to get it down to a production level cost so that it would make sense to have it in homes that are in the two or 300,000s. That product that they created for Jubilee is available everywhere now, but it won best new in-home product at the International Builder Show in 2024, I believe. 2020, yeah, 2024. So that was really exciting for them and for us. So all that to be said, there were a lot of conversations and negotiations and partnerships made to be able to bring these wellness features into the homes and it not cost an arm and a leg for the buyer or for the builder.
And this is all kind of turned into now you have a third-party certification, is that correct? Where you're actually certified as a wellness community?
Yes. Third party certification was something we wanted to do from the beginning. I felt it was really important, just being on the marketing side, for people to know that this wellness community, it was not a marketing scheme, it was not a gimmick, that this is something that we are truly committed to, we are investing in. But don't take our word for it. We're having a third party organization who are not connected to it all come in and check that we're doing what we're saying we're doing, that the builders are doing what they're saying they're doing, because we have all of these parameters that the builders have to meet. And somebody has to be checking them and making sure that they're meeting them. So we decided to be an early adopter of a program through the International Well Building Institute called Well for Residential. It's a set of criteria that every single home has to meet. It's a point system, so there's a minimum amount of features in the home that have to be met for you to achieve this certification. Every single home in the community is being built to meet this certification. And then there's things that we have to include on the community side that also contribute to that. For example, access to fresh local produce. So we're building community gardens to be able to achieve that point within the Well for Residential system. Also the home features are in there. So the lighting, the water, the air quality, the smart home, the security, different things like that that are part of our standard wellness package within Jubilee all contribute to that point system for Well for Residential.
Essentially, you guys are creating this wellness zone that 20 years from now, people will be able to research it. And in my opinion, what you all are doing at the community level is really going to um, it's going to create just a better place for everybody to go to. How do you really go from this vision and starting the community the way that it is into actually being able to, in 10 or 20 years, bringing that thread of the vision all the way through?
Land development is a long-term game. Jubilee is a 10 to 12-year build out. So over the next, let's see, we opened in 24. So over the next 8 to 10 years, we will be continuing to, do everything that we're doing within the wellness scape, and then also staying up to date on what's going on in the world of wellness real estate. What are there things that we need to change or alter that have gotten better since 2024 when we opened? So I think keeping abreast with everything that's going on, it's only going to get less expensive and better quality, as all technology does when it first comes out. It's pretty expensive. There's kinks to work through and things, at the pace our society works, just get better and faster and cheaper. So we're continuing to just stay up to date with everything to try and have the best possible features in the community. But also, as we've seen the positive impact that it's had and the positive reception from our buyers, we've started implementing some of these things in other communities. So we have a couple new communities on the horizon. Grange, which is in Katy, Texas is one of them. They are also doing the RO filters in every single home free of charge for the residents. They're not a wellness community and it's not a huge marketing feature for them, but it is something that is available for all of the residents there just because we want them to have access to cleaner water and use less plastic water bottles and help the environment in that way. So it's already started trickling out into other projects as we've been able to make it feasible and as we've seen the positive impacts that it's had.
Haley, I would imagine as well that to Danette's point of like, how do you maintain this vision over time? The choice of your property management company, your HOA management company, must have been very thoughtful. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, and that is a huge part. So we partner with CCMC and Jubilee. They are property management HOA company. Our lifestyle director, who we've rebranded to call our director of joy and Jubilee, um, is through them, and a lot of her programming is not just to do with bringing residents together and having fun events. There's a lot of wellness in it as well. So there's yoga, there's sound baths, there's meditative workshops all the time for our residents. But then fun things like karaoke night and sushi making class and just all the little random events, things for kids and adults. So having a lifestyle team that understands the mission and reflects that through their programming is really important. And then we call ourselves the joyful community. That is our tagline. So although working in HOA is not always the most joyful position as far as what you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, we've tried really hard to hire people that are going to create a positive atmosphere in Jubilee and complement everything that we're doing on the design and build side to also try and complement that with the people that we have out there who residents are interacting with. And that's still a work in progress. We are a fairly new community. We just opened our first amenity center last year with our first pool and co-working space. Working on getting the right people out there to kind of fit the overall vibe, and it's a moving target always, but we're doing our best to implement that joy through all aspects, even the people who are on site.
So Haley, getting to know you a little bit better, I'm just seeing just how passionate you are about things. And one thing we didn't mention to our audience is that Haley actually just won um, Marketing Professional of the Year at the Nationals, which is super exciting. But what inspires you to get to where you are just within your life on a daily basis?
A few things. I am always observing and always learning. I've kind of been that way since I was young. Before I ended up switching my major in college to communications, I was originally a psychology major because I've always just found people and their behaviors and patterns fascinating and figuring out why people do what they do and why they are how they are has been really interesting. So observing people, and trying to kind of predict what they're going to want or need has been really inspirational and just kind of a source of, I mean, I guess inspiration for my job within marketing. But also I'm an avid traveler. I love to travel. I love to get out of my bubble. And again, I've been that way since I was young as well. I spent a summer in college studying abroad and went to 13 different countries over that summer, and it changed my life forever. Just seeing so many different ways of life and just cultures and behaviors and architecture and decisions and things that like the sociology of all of it, just the decisions that people make and the things that they do from the environment that they're in. And that's so important when it goes into master plan community designing and building, as you are creating places where people are going to have their entire childhood memories. I mean, the most of our buyers in Jubilee are very young families or people just starting out. And so they're going to be raising their kids in this community. And just for a little fun context, I actually grew up in a Johnson Development community. One of their first communities is called Silver Lake. It's in Pearland, Texas. And I was there from 4th grade till I went off to college, and all of my summer memories are in that community, on the playgrounds and going to the lake and meeting friends at the park and just walking around like you do as a junior high and high school kid, and it's had such an impact on my life and my childhood, and I get to create places that have that type of impact on people, so that's really cool. That's really special.
What an amazing full circle moment. I mean, you know, living in a Johnson Development community to now being a part of that, to be able to build that for other families. Which brings us to our last question. What advice would you give to your younger self if you could go back to that Haley in those years and look at where you are now?
A lot. There's a lot that I would say, but I think probably the most important thing would be to remind myself that growth does not always look like striving harder. Um, Sometimes it looks like creating more balance or protecting your energy or being more selective about where you give your time and talent to. Um, Ambition matters, and I've always been very ambitious and, wanting to grow and achieve and do, but I also think building a life that actually feels good while you're living it is more important than all of that. Sometimes you can just get caught up, or I can just get caught up in the doing and the achieving and the growing that kind of I used to not stop and just appreciate life and everything I've done so far and everything that I have and be grateful for that. So really kind of reminding myself too that that's what's really important in life.
That's so well said. We in preparing for this conversation today, we had a minute to reminisce, and I think I met you early in 2019, and I knew there was something really special about you in that moment, in that day, and it has been such a delight for me through your different projects and moments we've worked together to see you grow professionally, see you grow personally, to earn the recognition of the entire industry and what you're doing, and this amazing new position at JDC, which has perhaps the strongest marketing department in the country. You guys do great work. It's just been a real pleasure getting to know you over the years, Haley.
Thank you, April. It has been such a pleasure getting to know you as well. I know I feel like it was so long ago that we met. It really wasn't like 6 years ago, but it just so much has changed since then, and we've worked on so many different projects that it's kind of crazy that all that was just within the past 6 years. But yeah, it's been lovely to meet you and your team and see your business grow as well.
Well, Haley, this conversation has been inspiring. I know that you are an inspiration to me, even in the conversations that we've had with April before this. And I'm really excited to see you thrive in your next role. And thank you for joining the podcast today. We appreciate your time. And I will have to call you offline to figure out about the lighting because I am really interested in how I can upgrade my own lighting in my own house and some of those tips and tricks. So, again, I think that the audience is gonna love this conversation, and I really appreciate your time. So, thank you to you, and thank you to everybody who is listening, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much.